I don't know if you guys have heard, but apparently Tucker Carlson is gathering evidence. He's gathering evidence that Obama is actually a homosexual, maybe a bisexual, and that before he became president of the United States, he was smoking crack cocaine, like snorting lines of coke, and having men blow him. Now, personally, let's say that was true. Right? Just for a moment, let's say it was true. As long as he did the job well as president, which I do have criticisms of the Obama administration, I don't particularly care if he's having gay sex with men, right? Now it is another thing if he wants people to be arrested for drug crimes and is doing drugs himself. But the main hook of the story, from what I've been seeing online, is, wow, he slept with a man. He's a homosexual. He's a homo, and it's trying to degrade him. And why would anyone care if Obama had sex with a man 30 years ago or something? I don't know why that would be relevant to his presidency or would be deserving of a 40 to 41 minute interview. But I don't even think this is real. Let's watch some of the Tucker Carlson interview. We're not going to watch the whole thing. He just released it 9 minutes ago. It's 41 minutes long. Let's watch the trailer. And then let's watch some of the interview. And then I want to talk to you about the person who's accusing Obama that Tucker Carlson let spin his story with no pushback, and how it just shows that Tucker Carlson's main purpose isn't to report the news. It's the narrative hump. It's to repeat anything and everything that serves the narrative he wants to put through. And if it contradicts his narrative, he ignores it. And if it's something that it supports his narrative, he's going to platform it. He's going to support it. He's going to push it as long as it will get him viewership and attention. And something like this is obviously pretty scandalous and is going to help him get viewership and attention. So let's watch this and let's see the complete lack of effort Tucker went into confirming any of these claims. Let's first start with the trailer, because this is the first thing everybody saw yesterday. A man who claims he had sex with Barack Obama in 1999 tells the story.
You're just a guy who's in town for the night, and it sounds like you're looking to party.
Yeah, pulled up in a bar outside, and there's this guy that's introduced to me as Barack Obama. I had given Barack $250 to pay for coke. I start putting a line on a CD tray to snort, and next thing I know, he's got a little pipe and he's smoking. So I just started rubbing my hand along his thigh to see where it was going, and it went the direction I had intended it to go.
Even though you had sex with him twice, you did cocaine with him, watched him smoke crack twice, you had no idea who he was.
I had no idea who he was.
Let me just ask the obvious question. What was Obama like on crack? Is it your sense that that's who Obama is, just transactional, or that he's bisexual, or like, what is this?
It definitely wasn't Barack's first time, and I would almost be willing to bet you it wasn't as long.
The guy's running for president, and credible information comes out that he's smoking crack and having sex with dudes. That seems like a
Dude, this has more edits than like an Indian soap opera. I'm sorry, we'll let it finish. Sorry.
story.
Well, it would be a story if the media really cared about telling people the truth.
Wow. If the media really cared about telling the truth, they would have this random gay man come on Tucker Carlson's show or their shows and repeat completely unverifiable claims from more than 20 years ago that he has no evidence of. You guys don't think that Newsmax or any of these larger companies, Fox News, I mean, even like OAN, they're not a larger one, but they're certainly a company that wants to see the Obamas and Biden and any Democrat fall from grace. None of them would have picked up the story if there was any substantial evidence. Any substantial evidence. This is the thing about Tucker Carlson no longer being hitched to Fox, right? Tucker Carlson had a lot of editorial control about what he put out at Fox, right? That's how I think a lot of the lies that he put out on the network got out there. That's not to say that Fox News is above lying, but Tucker Carlson is very, very, very much willing to lie and willing to push out unverifiable information or unverified information. I think the most clear-cut case of this, I talk about it all the time and I'll never shut up about it, is when Tucker Carlson on his program said that for every single Russian soldier that dies, 7 Ukrainian soldiers die. And that was revealed by the Jack Texera leaks. Problem is, the document he was basing that off of isn't actually from the Jack Texera leaks. The Jack Texera leaks had a document that said for every one Ukrainian soldier that dies, 2.5 Russian soldiers die. It was completely inverse, complete opposite of what he was saying. He saw, or just lied about this. He could have just lied about it, but I suspect that he saw the edited version of the document circulating on Twitter, which was a photoshopped version, a poorly photoshopped version, mind you, where they had switched around the numbers to make it look like the Ukrainians were dying in mass, and he did none of the work to confirm it was real. And I really give him no benefit of the doubt here, since if you look at the Photoshop, it's not even well Photoshopped. Some of the numbers are kind of like cut; they're not like the full numbers. It's because of how it was taken from other parts of the document. Parts of the numbers are not even fully there. Like it's like 90% of a letter or 80% of a letter. Some of it's cut off. There's discoloration in the area that it was photoshopped. And later in the same set of documents where this Photoshop document was released with, you can see references to the original numbers. That is, for every 1 Ukrainian soldiers, 2.5 Russians die. So that would mean that Tucker Carlson had to just see this document and this document alone, did not review the rest of the documents, did not review the original source material, and then he put it out on the most popular show in America for news and television. The most popular talk news show in the United States. He put it out there, no pushback, no correction from Fox, repeated the same claim a week later when RFK was on the program. So I am of no high opinion of Tucker Carlson. I think this is somebody who will lie or take any story that paints his political opponents or the other side, quote unquote, them, whoever them is, to paint them bad. He'll stoop to any low. And this is just another example of that. Let's watch a little bit of the interview, but I'm just going to tell you what I expected immediately when I saw this. And before we go into it, we're not going to watch the full interview because, again, I do not want to watch 41 minutes of this man's gay Obama sex fantasy. But let me tell you what I expect. I expect Tucker Carlson to look at this guy and nod along with that glossy-eyed look in his eyes, right? As this guy goes into detail about how he had sex with Barack Obama. And then we're supposed to think this is totally not just gay Obama fan fiction. We're supposed to pretend that this isn't that. So let's watch some of the interview. We're not going to watch much of it. And then I'm going to tell you about this guy's background, because Tucker Carlson didn't do the most bare minimum of digging. Didn't even Google the guy's name.
In retrospect, it's pretty amazing that Barack Obama got as far as he did. In 2004, the summer of 2004, Barack Obama gave the keynote address at the Democratic Convention in Boston. And when he walked to the podium, probably only a small percentage of people in the room knew how to pronounce his name. He was totally unheard of. No one knew Barack Obama. At the time, he was a state senator in Illinois. 4 years later, he once again spoke to the Democratic Convention, but this time as the nominee. Meteoric doesn't begin to describe it. How did this happen? Well, the outlines are fairly well known, though rarely talked about. A small group of Democratic donors, mostly in Chicago, decided that Barack Obama was their guy. He was the vessel for their ambitions. They paid for his campaign. They paved the way for his rise. He spent 2 years pointlessly in the United States Senate preparing to run for president in 2008, and of course, in the end, he won. But the question was, who was this man? Where did he come from? What did he spend his life doing before he became president of the United States?
Mostly smoking weed in college and trying to pick up communist chicks in college by reading the Communist Manifesto. At least that's all I know about his youth. That's quite literally all I know about his youth.
Well, the news media, whose job it is to answer those questions, spent the entire 2008 campaign trying to keep you from knowing the answers.
Really?
By Election Day, most Americans knew only one thing about Barack Obama, other than he was handsome and a good communicator: hope and change. But they knew nothing about him, his origins, what he believed, and legitimate questions about those facts were turned away, as they often are, with the claim, "That's a conspiracy theory. You're crazy. Shut up."
I'm imagining he's word for word repeating what a Fox News executive told him when he went to them and say, "Can we have this random guy who says that he got banged by Obama 20 years ago No, he doesn't have any evidence. Criminal record, fraud. What do you mean by no? You're looking too deep into this. Just let me have him on.
One of the most interesting.
Also, like Obama stated his like political positions on the campaign trail. He had like things on his agenda that he put forward in 2008. Things like, for example, negotiating Medicare price, not negotiating Medicare prices, but negotiating drug prices with drug companies. Like, there was real positions he had. How much he delivered on, how much he didn't deliver on, that's a different question. Where he failed and where he succeeded, that's a different question. But I mean, it wasn't just hope and change. I mean, that was the catchphrase. But I mean, that would be like saying, we didn't know anything about Trump's position. He just said, make America great again. That's all we knew. I don't know if you weren't paying that much attention. It is true that his rise was meteoric, though.
Moments in the 2008 campaign occurred when a man, like Obama himself, came from out of nowhere to recount his experiences with Barack Obama, the man. His name was Larry Sinclair, and he told an amazing story. He said,
I'm sorry, man. Sinclair is the most con artist name you could possibly think up of. I'm like, it'd be like, oh, I'm John Flim Flam. I'm Mr. Billy the Swindler. I'm sorry, man. Come on.
That in
You should see this coming from a mile away.
1999, he had encountered Barack Obama in Illinois, had sex with Barack Obama, and then used cocaine with him. Sinclair went on to make these claims publicly at the National Press Club in Washington, to sign a sworn affidavit, and to take a lie detector test.
Okay, so number one, lie detector tests are famously not that accurate. It's not, I don't even know. I would even think the majority of Tucker's audience would know this by now, unless they're all just, I don't know, they all are just, have like rotted their brains from 20 to 30 years of, you are not the father. He took the lie detector test, right? But that's just TV. That's, in reality, lie detector tests are not that accurate. They're not that accurate. So that doesn't really mean much. As for the signed affidavit, you can sign an affidavit and still lie. In fact, it's happened before, and it will almost certainly happen again. And we'll wait till we watch a little bit of the interview, right? And considering this guy's history, which we're going to talk about in a moment after we watch just a bit of it, I don't think he'd be that unwilling to commit crime or fraud.
But he was dismissed. In fact, he was attacked. Obama shills like Ben Smith of Politico batted the claims out without refuting them. They're absurd. And the rest.
To be clear, they were just claims. If somebody makes claims, right, it is not your guys' job to go and refute those claims if there's no evidence provided along with it. Because if that's how this works, then let me guys tell you something. And I've been holding this back for a while, and I didn't want it to come out like this, but I think it's the time. 2 years ago, you know, a little bit after, you know, I got into streaming, I went to, you know, TwitchCon. I didn't tell anybody about it, but I went to TwitchCon, and I did a little table, a setup for you guys to come and meet me, but nobody came because I didn't tell anybody, and I was very sad. It was lay epic cringe. I was so sad. And so I was sitting at my table, and everybody else had long lines of fans walking up to, you know, have their breasts signed by the different Twitch stars. You know, XQC was, you know, mumbling to all of his fans, and they were all giggling, but I had no one. And then walking down the aisle was a brave patriot, Donald J. Trump. And he didn't just walk up to my stall. He walked up in that beautiful suit, that long red tie that dragged on the floor, was covered in gravel. Some people are knuckle draggers. He's a tie dragger. And as he walked up, his tie picking up all the lint on the floor, his lovely wavy hair flowing in the breeze of the TwitchCon air conditioning to keep everybody in the facility from sweating because nobody wears deodorant at TwitchCon. He walks up and he says, "Dylan, I love your stream, tier 3 sub." And then he sits next to me. And I'm like, wow, the president of the United States thinks that I'm a star and he's going to sit next to me? That's amazing. Oh my God, I can't believe it. Wow. But then you know what he did? He took his hand. He reached it under the table, started rubbing my thigh, and then he grabbed my crotch and said, "Huge." And the rest is history. It's now your guys' job to go disprove that. Like, unless I provide any evidence with it, you should not just believe the story on face value. Like, I could spin a million different tales with no evidence. Like, I could come out and say, yeah, a few days ago, actually, I saw, a horrible war crime in this area, and then provide no evidence and say, okay, you guys got to go disprove me. Wait, what do you mean you got to go disprove me? If all you have to base it off of is my testimony, it's not exactly the strongest case. Might be right, might be wrong, but he has to provide evidence, like maybe like a photograph of him with Obama, or maybe some personal artifact like Obama's underwear or something, just anything. A testimony from somebody else as well might be helpful. Maybe other witnesses. Maybe if they went to a gay bar, they could have the bartender come forward. Maybe security cam footage of some sort, something, anything.
The media followed suit. But the claims weren't absurd. We're not claiming they're true, but they were certainly credible. This was a first-hand account.
What do you mean they're credible? How do you know they're credible? Okay, let's just hear how Tucker says they're credible.
Of Barack Obama's behavior by someone who was willing to sign a sworn affidavit to that effect. So the question is,
signing an affidavit doesn't inherently make anything credible. It just means that the person A might have nothing to lose, or B really thinks they might get away with their lie. It could mean that as well. It doesn't make it credible just because they signed a document.
Whatever happened to Larry Sinclair? What's his life been like since? That's an interesting story. It turns out Larry Sinclair is still alive. He lives in Mexico. But today, he's in our studio, and we're happy to have him. Larry Sinclair, thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me.
Where did you meet Barack Obama?
It was by accident.
Okay, first off, this is how I know his story is fake. If Obama was gay, it'd be twinks all around, okay? It'd be twinks all around. And I do not think in 20 years he'd transform from a twink into this. So I'm not trying to be mean. Just saying, if he was a bisexual, don't think it'd be his type. He doesn't have any evidence, so I can pointlessly speculate.
In the Chicago area in '99 for Lee Duke's graduation from the Naval Academy.
Who's Lee Duke?
He's basically my godson.
Okay.
I had hired a limousine service.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Did you live in Chicago then?
No. I was actually living in Colorado. I had flown in the night before.
Okay.
So I had hired a limousine service, had made the driver aware that if Lee couldn't leave the base, because once they graduate, some of them actually get their assignments and they're shipping out and they can't leave the base, that I was still interested in going out. And had asked the driver if he knew anybody that was available that might want to show me, Chicago. And he said he did. So
well, who was the driver?
His name was Jameer Motani. It was with 5-star limo.
So you're just a guy who's in town for the night, and it sounds like you're looking to party, actually.
Yeah.
That's what you're really saying.
Yeah. Well, I was in town for a few nights, but yeah, I was definitely looking to party. And
did you make that clear to the driver?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There was no misunderstanding.
How direct were you about that?
Extremely.
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 Okay.
Yeah. There was no doubt what I was looking for.
Okay.
And he picked me up at my hotel in Gurnee and drove into Chicago, pulled up in a bar outside, and there's this guy that's introduced to me as Barack Obama.
Okay, so the story is he goes to Chicago to see his godson, who's at some military academy or base or something, and might ship out, so he's coming to visit. And then while visiting, for whatever reason, he decides he's going to go out and party, goes into a 5-star limo service, asks them to show him Chicago with all the cocaine and all the drugs or whatever, and all the gay sex. And then the limo driver's like, sure thing, I'll hook you up with the #1 gay sexer in Chicago, Mr. Barack Obama. That brings him to a bar, drops him out, and says, there's Mr. Obama. And he's like, ah, yes, Mr. Gay Sex Obama. Really? Come on. So the limo driver was told, I want to party with all the gay sex and all the drugs. And the limo driver's first inclination was, I got to bring him to my boy Obama. He's the gay sex champion of Chicago.
It was literally that casual. That
Had you ever heard of him?
No.
Did the driver know him?
Yep. The driver definitely knew him because the driver said that he was a friend.
Interesting. How would the driver be friends with Barack Obama?
I only found out later, dealing with a reporter from Bloomberg News, that apparently the limousine company had been doing business with Tony Resco, that at the time was somehow affiliated
Was
with
in
Barack
Obama's
Obama.
orbit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting. So he knew Barack Obama, and in his view, Barack Obama liked the same kind of partying you were looking for.
Yeah.
Okay. So sex and drugs, in other words.
Well, the sex part I wasn't so sure about until, of course, you make your move, but it became obvious very quick. The coke part I thought was interesting.
Wait, if it became obvious, that kind of implies that Obama came on to him, right? So Obama came on. So not only did he have gay sex with Barack Obama, Obama came on to him? Okay, got you.
Because of the way that I had brought it up.
So I'm stepping on your story. So you pull, and I apologize. So you pull up to this bar. The driver is basically scouting some dude for you to hang out with.
Correct.
There's this guy, Barack Obama. Have you ever heard of Barack Obama?
Never. Okay. Never. We're having drinks. I mentioned the fact that I could use something to wake up. I was extremely exhausted.
So you went into the bar?
Yes, sir.
What kind of bar was it?
I'm trying to remember. I've been trying to remember the name. I know that the glasses had 3 X's on them.
Wow, that's very convenient that he doesn't know the name of the bar that supposedly him and Barack Obama went and did a copious amount of drugs and had gay sex. That's very convenient that there's no staff that we can go ask from 1999 if Obama was a frequent guest at this bar. Because realistically, if you were a reporter actually trying to find out if this story was true, the first thing you would probably do is either find the limo service or find the bar. And then you talk to the limo driver from 1999, or you talk to a waiter or a bartender or somebody working at this bar, or somebody that's a frequent patron of the bar. But he conveniently doesn't know the bar, so nobody can go follow up on the story.
Because I remember taking one home for a friend of mine.
But I mean, generally characterize it. Was it working class bar, gay bar, strip bar?
It was upscale, quiet. Wasn't really that really didn't have a lot of energy to it. It was more relaxed, more like a lounge, as opposed to somewhere where people would go and get loud and crazy.
Yeah.
Which made it easier to talk. But like I said, when I brought up the fact that I could use something to wake up, he immediately knew what I was referring to, had made it clear that I was looking for coke, and I really was, and had made the suggestion that he knew where we could get it, and we left to go get it.
Interesting. Did he say what he did for a living?
Nope. I had no idea that he was a representative in the Illinois House. I had no idea he was in politics.
Wait, so this was also, I guess in 1999, he would have been a representative in the House. So this also means that Obama was doing this all while an elected official. And immediately, as a House representative, a random man walks into a bar he can't name, by the way, goes up to Obama, says, hello. And Obama, remember, he's an elected politician at this point. I would like cocaine. And he's like, of course, random person I do not know who's just dropped off at this bar. I can get you copious amounts of cocaine. Okay, got you. Okay. Totally makes sense. Very believable. Let's continue. Don't need any evidence for this. Dedicated bot, thank you so much for the primer. Appreciate it. Tucker is just like rhizome content at this point. It is actually. That's actually a really good description. Also, why does this... I see somebody in gutter chat brought up a good point. Let's say this is all true, by the way. He got his coke. He's got his sex. He got his sexy time, right? What's his complaint anyway? Why Why the big, like, hey, everyone, I banged the president? Is this what, if I ran for president of the United States, here's a question. Is everybody that I ever, like, smoked pot with or, like, did some, like, LSD with or, like, mushrooms or something, are they all going to come out and say, I touched Dylan's pee-pee in 2022. I touched his pee-pee and everybody needs to give me attention?
I just knew that he was supposedly married and at the time was going through some issues with the marriage.
He said that?
That was made clear, yeah.
Huh. Did he say what kind of issues?
No.
Do you remember? No. So you said, I'm looking for someone to wake up. He knows you're referring to cocaine.
So he was also cheating on his wife. Got you. Okay. So he's cheating on his wife, willing to risk his job as a local representative for a person he just met, all at a bar that nobody can name. Okay, got you.
I know where to get it. What happens next?
We get back in the limo. The driver takes us wherever it is that Barack had instructed him to take us. I had given Barack $250 to pay for coke.
Okay, so they can't name the bar or where they went. Okay.
He gets out, comes back. I start putting a line on a CD tray to snort.
And you're in the limo.
Yep.
Driving or parked?
No, the driver's driving.
Yep.
I start to put a line on a CD tray, and I just happen to notice that he pulls something else out of his pocket. And next thing I know, he's got a little pipe and he's smoking. So I don't have an issue with it. I mean, some people smoke, some people snort.
Smoking the cocaine?
Yes. So as I'm doing a line, I just start. This is the part where you kind of make your move to see where things are going. So I just started rubbing my hand along his thigh to see where it was going, and it went the direction I had intended it to go.
Like so they fucked in the limo? Was the limo driver just kind of like, did he just like roll? I know there's like a little like passenger, there's like a window in the back of the limo where they can roll down, talk to the guys. Did he just look back there, see that Obama was like plowing this guy and just like, I'm trying to imagine this interaction here.
So the night became somewhat active sexually and drug-wise in the limo.
So you hit on him. Did he seem shocked by that?
Not at all.
Yeah. I mean, if you're smoking crack with a stranger in the back of a limo, like, you got to imagine things might go crazy places.
Well, not only imagine.
I love that Obama. I love that Tucker has no questions for the story. All the questions are just like, can you explain this detail? Not so you don't know the name of the bar after 20 something years. Have you not gone and looked for it? If you wanted to confirm this, have you not worked with reporters to do this? Can we ask about that? So he banged you in the back of the limo. Is there any limo company service we could call to see if they ever? Is there? Like, there's nothing. There's nothing. There's no confirmation of any of these details. He's just letting this guy spin his yarn. No questions asked. Okay, whatever.
Imagine it.
It'd be one thing if he was just gathering testimony about something that just happened, like it was some terror attack, or he was interviewing some soldier and he was like, after this is what the battle went like, right? It'd be one thing if it was something that just happened, but this is something that's over 20 years old. And these details are still unbelievably foggy, and he's leaving out just enough information that you can't follow up on any of it, which is, I would say, incredibly suspicious. He said the limo service and the limo driver name. Okay, so has the limo service confirmed this? Has the limo drivers confirmed it? I already know that's probably not the case, that they confirmed it, because if they did, Tucker would have probably brought it up because it would have made his case stronger.
I look at it this way. I've done a lot of crazy things in my lifetime. I'm a pretty good judge of character, and I pretty much know whether or not I can move in a certain direction with an individual. I didn't feel that I was going in the wrong direction. I just wasn't so sure how much I could trust the individual at first. And that was probably one of my bigger concerns. But the fact that I was already becoming somewhat buzzed, you kind of throw caution to the wind.
You weren't sure you could trust the individual. What does that mean?
When you meet someone out of the blue and you go to a level that you're doing drugs with, or you're giving money to purchase drugs, or even for sexual activity, you have to be sure that you can trust them. And when I say trust, I mean that you're not going to end up being robbed, or that you're not going to end up having a knife stuck into you,
Right.
you know, from one direction or
The story would be a lot cooler if he said, after I blew him, he put the knife to my neck and stole all my coke. Come on, if you're gonna tell a tall tale, at least make it fun.
another, or that you're not going to
So far, this is just porn.
pull up somewhere and all of a sudden the car door is going to open and you got 5 people pulling you out of it.
Totally.
That's what I mean when I
Yep.
say trust
Yep.
someone.
And you've been around at this point in your life, big time.
Yeah.
Right. So probably not your first time in a situation like this.
Not at all. And that's why I said I pretty much know where I can go and
Yeah.
at what point.
So you start rubbing his leg, and I think, I'll just be totally blunt with you, like a man who's not into gay sex would be like, whoa, settle down.
Trust me, if it was something that you were not interested in,
Yeah.
and you're right, I've had guys that I read wrong that would literally try to break your hand.
For sure.
If you went in that route. So it's not like this was something that he wasn't into. It's
Yeah.
not something that he was shocked by.
Yeah.
Shocked by, you don't get excited and you don't unbutton your pants and you don't just sit there and let it happen.
Yeah.
So it definitely wasn't Barack's first time. That much I'm absolutely certain of. And I would almost be willing to bet you it wasn't his last.
So you performed oral sex on
I
Barack
did.
Obama. You did. In the driver's up front?
Yep.
Yo, ask him to describe his penis and if there was any distinct birthmarks. Then we'll get Obama. He'll come on the show. He'll show his penis, and we can finally put this under the rug. We can be done with it, and Tucker can get his gay sex fantasy that he clearly is thirsting after.
With this.
The driver has the partition up. He didn't have a problem with it. He didn't put it down for any reason.
I mean, he kind of set up the whole thing for this in the first place.
Exactly. And I have a funny feeling he had no bones to pick with it as far as what took place in it.
Yeah. So what happened after?
Afterwards, I actually went back to my hotel. I had specifically asked that he drop Barack off first, but for some reason he and Barack chose that they would drop me off at the hotel first and then he would take Barack. So Barack actually made the drive out to Gurnee, which is a suburb outside of Chicago, to the hotel for me to be dropped off.
What hotel was that?
It was the Comfort Inn in Gurnee.
Ooh, that sounds depressing.
Well, you have to remember it was 99.
Yeah. No,
And it was close to the Great Lakes Naval facilities.
yeah.
But I got dropped off. They left. The next day was somewhat interesting because he ends up showing up at my hotel room, which I thought was...
Wow, so it just kept going. So this is a multi-day affair with Barack Obama cheating on his wife with this man. And when we say multi-day, it's not like he did it one day, waited a week, did another day. It's he did one day, the next day, the next day. Okay.
somewhat weird. But
Okay, can we be done with this? I think I'm done with this. I think I'm done with it. Can we? I don't want to listen to any more of the story. We've listened to 12 minutes 41 seconds of his gay sex fantasy. Let's look at the accuser, the person who has accused him. So this is from at the time 2008 when he first made these claims, which I guess was not brought up. I haven't seen it in the interview. Maybe he mentions it later, but I don't think so. And I'm just gonna bet that Tucker Carlson would never bring up a point that could possibly counteract his. So I wanted to talk about the type of criminal activity he was involved in. Sinclair is familiar to political junkies and reporters as the source of outlandish allegations about Senator Barack Obama, tales that began with sex and drugs and moved on to murder. Murder. The dual Minnesota residents and the sort of figure who appears at the margins. The resident is the sort of figure who appears at the margins of every presidential campaign, and both President George W. Bush and Bill Clinton had their own obscure accusers with dramatic allegations. But as the old media ignores him, Sinclair has taken full advantage of the internet, and a video in which he makes his claims has been viewed more than 900,000 times on YouTube. This afternoon, he's reserved the Holman Lounge downtown Washington's National Press Club to try to lend his story the legitimacy that comes with national media attention. Sinclair's biography, though, may get in the way of that pitch. Public records show and court filings reveal that he has a 27-year criminal record with a specialty in crimes involving deceit. The record includes forgery charges in 2 states, one of which drew Sinclair a 16-year jail sentence. The Pueblo County, Colorado Sheriff's Office also has an outstanding warrant for Sinclair's arrest for forging an acquaintance's signature and stealing her tax refunds. It is what it is, said Sinclair spokesperson Montgomery Blair Sinclair of his client's criminal record. He's not hiding from it. He's not denying it. Sinclair, however, addressed elements of his criminal past on his own blog and his court filings, punctuated by unusual spellings and capitalization. Addressing the theft charges, the Pueblo County theft charges, Sinclair swore in a 2004 affidavit that his alleged victim seeks to use defendant as scapegoat for her husband and brother's problems with Mexican drug dealers. That tells a lot of tall tales. Sinclair's affidavit, which he posted to his blog, accompanied a request. He used a lot of affidavits to try to prove his stories, huh? It seems that the only evidence he has for any of this stuff is just affidavits. Sinclair's affidavit, which he posted to his blog, accompanied a request to a Colorado judge to dismiss the warrant on the grounds that Sinclair was disabled with a severe spine injury and nerve damage, that returning to Colorado would put his life in danger, and that he was terminally ill. Terminally ill. Wow, that's crazy, because I just looked at some footage of him in 2023 that shows him terminally alive. Sinclair, who is still alive, is 46, stands 5'7", and weighs 168 pounds, according to his arrest records. Colorado records list him with 13 aliases, including Larry Vicara Alvia and Muhammad Ghanan. His story has generally been ignored by the mainstream media because he's been unable to substantiate his allegations. He has come to public attention recently, however, because his planned appearance at the National Press Club drew complaints from a wide array of prominent liberal bloggers led by Firedog Lake's Jane Hampshire. So none of this seems to be mentioned in the interview. It isn't mentioned in the ad. It isn't mentioned in the interview itself. None of the crimes that he's committed, specifically the crimes involving, lying and all of these claims about affidavits and other crimes that he tried to use to prove that he wasn't guilty. This is a guy with a long criminal history involving deceit. And Tucker Carlson could have just Googled his name and found this article. It was not hard to find this article from 2008. It's publicly available. He could have found it. But he didn't do either A, the bare amount of research before having this guy on, or more likely, B, didn't want to include any information that could publicly undermine the story of somebody who has it out for a Democrat. And since Tucker Carlson also has it out for the Democrats, their allies and their lies and their deceit. This guy is a liar. Tucker is a known liar. I don't know why anybody would take this at face value outside of, unless you just want Obama to fail, you want Democrats to fail, and you hate the opposition to your side. That's the only reason I could possibly imagine somebody taking this at face value. And I wonder if I went through the groups of people who are posting this, because I've seen this posted and shared all over social media today, and I asked, okay, so this is what you think of this unverifiable claim from somebody who has a long history of fraud and deceit. Okay, whatever. What do you think about the multiple women accusing Donald Trump? Do you think Tucker Carlson's going to give them the same airtime? Do you think Tucker Carlson's not even give them the same airtime, but give them the same benefit of the doubt when it comes to any unverified claims? I don't think so. This is just political maneuvering. This is dragging out like what more than 20-year-old claims to try to sabotage Democrats with very little evidence. It's honestly pathetic. Because all this amounts to, at the end of the day, is Tucker Carlson airing to millions of viewers this gay sex fantasy from an open fraudster. Dylan, he's terminally ill from heartbrokenness because Obama dumped him. Going on Tucker was his cure. That's a good point. I didn't think about that. Yo, can we get some Joe Biden gay sex fantasies? Can we get that next? Anyway, that's enough of this.